Oh. Hello everybody and welcome to the show. This is Andy Shed Live, Series 15, episode number 5 for Sunday the 18th of February 2024. Hello everybody and welcome to the show. We are here again. It is Sunday the 18th of February. It's getting right near the end, isn't it, of February? And my apologies, I've just been handed a sweet. I'm chewing on a sweet at the minute. Yeah, we are here for the next hour or so here live this Sunday evening. And hopefully we can get rid of that. That's it. Got rid of the music that was playing. Quite a lot to fit into the show tonight. If you've been watching YouTube over the last couple of weeks or so, there's been something called meshtastic that a lot of people have been making videos about. We're going to be showing you a little bit about meshtastic and how incredibly unuser-friendly it is in a little while in the show. But for now, I am just trying to get the old chat up on my screen so I can tell you who we've got here. It's coming up now. And yeah, we've got various people here. We've got Miguel is here, Dominic's here, Keith is here, Wesley is here. What it says, there's an ivory Diacon telephone handset on eBay if anybody needs one. It says I really should spend less time trolling eBay. Dominic says I should spend less time trolling it too. I've ended up buying a 100-foot reel of motion picture reversal film to roll into cassettes. Motion picture reversal film. Oh, you're going to put it in stills cameras, I take it. 100-foot reel of motion picture reversal film to roll into cassettes. Better hope the light's not been anywhere near that end, Dominic. It seems my comments don't get out, so I'll try again. Hi all. It did get out. I'm sure it did get out. Did it get out? Yes, it did get out. Yes, nearly an hour ago. It got out. So yeah, it was here. Gambo's with us as well. He says, hi peeps, I made it on today. Right, so I've got various people here. And Jan says, oh Andy, have you got the wiring diagrams for the ITI phone? What colour handset cords go on the block? And does anyone know where I can get spare bits from a Bakelite ITI telephone? Yes, another ITI telephone. The question is, what is it that you've got, Gambo? Is it a 300 series looking ITI telephone? Sorry, I was just chomping my sweet. If it's a 300 series looking one, then it should be fairly easy to wire it up. But we'll have to have a look now. Don't know how I can show you. That's a thing about that. But right, we're going to have a look for this ITI telephone. And see if I can find one of the phones. Trouble is, I aren't any pictures of the insides. I need to get one in my hand, which I've not got. Right, let me just have a little look. Right, I think that's a picture of one. Right, I'm looking for this in your phone. Sorry, I'm on the info. Right, I found a page on Bob Freshwater's website about it, Gambo. So here's a page that I think will show you how to do it. Copy that. And if I can log into there. I'm getting there, honestly I am. Right. That's not it. Right, I'll just put the wrong link in. Copy. That's the one you want. Right, the link is now in the chat, Gambo. That is the one you want for doing ITI. Phones, I think. So what you do then, Gambo, the terminals are numbered in a funny order. As you look at them, the bottom row of terminals, I looked at it with the terminal block at the bottom, the bottom row of terminals are numbered right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not left to right, so they are numbered right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then on the upper row they are numbered left to right. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you start kind of bottom right and go towards the left, and then you go around in a loop sort of thing. And once you know they're the terminal numbers, then what you do is you remove the existing line code from terminals 6 and 7, remove the metal link between terminals 5 and 6, insert a 3.3k resistor, same as in a 700 series phone, between 5 and 6, link terminals 8 and 9 together, check terminals 11 and 12 are linked. They should already be linked, but just check they are. And then you connect the red of your new line code to terminal 8 and the white of your new line code to terminal 6. And that should basically be enough to do it. But if you want to do it properly, you have to cut the orange wire on the capacitor in the phone, and then you connect the orange wire to the new blue line cord spade and insulate it. The green wire of the line cord you don't do anything with at all. Don't connect that to anything, so just insulate that. And if you want to put in a rectifier, you put that across terminals 1 and 2. So your line cord actually goes between terminal 6 and terminal 8, the two legs of your line cord, and then you cut the orange wire going to the capacitor, and instead of it going to the capacitor, cut it at the capacitor end and then connect to the orange wire the blue of your line cord, because your capacitor is now in your line jack, in your wall jack. So that's why you do that. So that is theoretically how you do it, but if you have a look at that link, there's more about it on there, on Bob Freshwater's excellent BritishTelephones.com website. One thing I will say about Bob's website, good as it is and you get a lot of information from it, there are one or two little errors here and there that creep into it, so don't always take it 100% as gospel, because every now and again you get a typo or something that throws it off a bit. I don't know that there's any on this particular page, but there are just a few that I've come across in the past with it. So there, yeah, that is hopefully that one figured out for you, Gambo. Hoping we've sussed that one for you there. Right, I'm just closing a few windows because I've got a multitude of windows open at the minute. Dominic says the Bakelite era phones do look very nice in ivory. They do, but it's very hard to find a decent ivory one, because it goes funny. What they were made out of, at least the early ones, they were made out of a very strange something or other. They were I forget what you call it. It was an early type of plastic, and it kind of goes brown. It goes like brown toffee. You get like brown toffee swirls in the ivory, and it's the plastic breaking down. So you get now an ivory phone with like toffee coloured marks in it, and it is actually in it, because it is the plastic itself breaking down. It's not the surface, it's actually inside it. Now the ITI ivory phones might be a better bet, because they're probably now using more modern plastics to make those. I don't know if they use Diacon to make the ivory ones in India. I don't know what plastics they use on the India ones, or if they just paint them, if just use Bakelite and paint them. See, the thing about Bakelite is you could only get it in very dull colours, and blacks and browns and sort of browny red colours. They're the only colours you can basically do Bakelite in. If you get bright colours, it's generally not Bakelite, it's generally something slightly different. But those early plastics and that, and they really are a bit of a minefield. Dominic said, did you hear about a new overground line names? No, I've not heard about that one, Dominic. Dominic says urea formaldehyde. I think you're right, Dominic. Not an overground railway line name, but that's what the ivory phones are made out of. Urea formaldehyde. Yeah, it's something like that. And I think the brown swirl is kind of the formaldehyde coming out of it, because they go strangely smelly as well. It's a bit like opening an old celluloid film can, although telephones don't burst into flames. but the breakdown of the materials makes a horrible smell. Yeah, it's not nice. But the India phones, they are a thing of their own. I have got a couple. I've just not got one to hand at the minute. But they are a thing of their own, and they are nicely simplified. But they do work. So yeah, it's worth picking one up if you see one. Because some people say, oh, the quality's not as good, but you know something, it's not bad. It's really not bad. But yeah, Indian telephones, all exciting stuff. Right, I'm just trying to find some way to put things at the minute because I'm running out of room rapidly here. Yeah, a lot has come this week. A lot has come. My desk this week looks like even more of a bomb site than usual. If I show you what my desk, hang on, let me get the camera in focus. That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? If I show you what my desk looks like this week, but even more of a bomb site than it normally is. But quite a bit of it is because I've been making these. Now this is really weird because that looks blue on the camera, but I assure you, in actual fact, that camera is purple, the front of that. Colour balance on that camera is way off. What happens if I put it in front of the other camera? Is it? Yeah, that's more the right colour on that camera. That's more the colour it actually is. Look there, it's purple on that camera, but it's blue on that camera. How weird is that? But yeah, this is the little enclosure, the little 3D printed enclosure that were made for the meshtastic devices. Now, the meshtastic devices are, there's one in, I think there's one in this one. These little things. These are very hard to get hold of at the moment because everywhere's sold out. But this is a thing called a Heltec V3. If you just search for a Heltec V3, very important it's a V3. It says on it V3. But it's very important if you want to get one of these that you do get one that says V3 on it. And I've got it upside down there. But if you look here somewhere, underneath that little tab there, can you see that says V3? You don't want V1, you don't want V2, you definitely want V3. Okay? And these little devices, you plug an antenna into them, you know, like a radio antenna, and they connect to Bluetooth, they can connect to wireless, and they also connect to LoRa radio. Now LoRa stands for long range, L-O-R-A, long range, and it's important you get one that's 863 to 928 because you want to get one that covers 868 megahertz. So this one you see is 863 to 928. You can get them in the 400-500 megahertz. You don't want that. You want 863 to 928 megahertz. And as you can see, they've also got battery management on board. So what it's all about is these things, when you power them on and you set them up, they mesh together to form a network. Then what you do, so there's people all over the place with these. In fact, there's lots of them now in the UK, and they all mesh together to form a network. And then you get your smartphone and you use an app on your smartphone to connect your smartphone by Bluetooth to this. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a phone. It could be an Android tablet that you use. I think you can even do it with a computer. But the key is, your phone, if you're using a phone, it is not going to be using the phone to send messages. It's going to send it by radio, by LoRa radio, from this little device. And the range that they can go is phenomenal. I think up to 100 kilometers. One of these has sent a message to another one. So the range is phenomenal, and it hops, so it goes from yours out to the network, to whatever radios are in range of you, and then it hops again to whatever radio is in range of all those that it's hopped to on the first hop, and then it hops again. Normally it does 3 hops. You can set the number of hops it does, but normally it does 3. The maximum it can do is 7, but it can hop quite a long way. I think it'd easily be able to hop one side of the country to the other in the UK, and that's something that I'm hoping that we're going to be able to try and do. So we've got these little things, but of course you've got to have something to put them into. You got to have like a device to mount them in, because it really is like just a circuit board as it stands there like that. So what we do, there's a guy online who is selling these cases. It's IKB3D. If you look for a meshtastic bender case, or type meshtastic into Google or something, you'll find these cases. I think they're about £17 or £18 to buy one of these cases, or for about £8 or £9 you can actually buy the 3D print files, which is what I've done. I just bought the files so I can now print as many of these as I want, and they come in 3 pieces. So you've got your main body bit like that. I printed this out the other day, so I printed that in grey, and then you've got a front and you've got a back. Now in the back you can fit a holder for an 18650 battery. I've got the batteries here. The batteries have arrived, but the holders haven't arrived yet, because I'm getting all the bits from all different places. And it will charge the batteries. The little device has got a USB-C port thing on the end of it. So as well as supplying power to the device, that USB-C port will charge a battery, and there's a charge controller built into the thing as well. So what you do, you take your case here like this, and you have to start assembling, and it's the assembling of it that can be a bit on the tricky side. So I will endeavour to show you me assembling one. Right, there we go. So first thing we need is an IPEX2 SMA pigtail for the antenna. So on the board, on here, just here on the end, is a tiny little connector that you connect one of these onto, and you basically put this on, and if you're not got very good eyesight like me, it can be a bit tricky. but it basically just clips on there. I knew trying to do this live was a bad idea. It's such a tiny thing that there we go, it's just clicked on there. So that is now connected onto there. It'll spin around a bit when it's connected, but it is basically on there. So now I'm going to take the sort of thing off there, the film thing off the front, and now this should fit in here. So it's shaped at this end, with a bit of jiggery pokery, and they are a very tight fit. They should go in. But as I say, they are a mega tight fit. Right, you just have to try and help it along a bit. And if you can just give it a little prod out again if it looks like it's not going. This one's even tighter than the other one that I did. I think he could have done, when he did the print files for this, I think he could have done with allowing a bit more slop in the print files. Right, it's nearly there now. Just got to gently push this end in with the flat of that there, and it doesn't want to go in. It really doesn't want to go in. I'm having one of them days, aren't I? That you have days like this. Because what we do. Oh, right, got it, I think. Well, it's close. It's close, but no cigar. It's not fully home. Still. It's closer than it was, though. Right, I moved it sideways a bit. Will it go in now? Yeah, it will go in now. Right, I've done it. So when it's in, it should be flat across there. If you can see that, it shouldn't be sticking out at all, really. So that's now in. Now, the thing now is, this connector thing now has got to go through this hole. It goes upwards through the hole, but we check the size of the hole because, again, I found these holes are too small. So, luckily, I've got some little model makers files, and I can just file this hole out, and it's the back half of the hole you want to file out. You don't want to file this front half out, because if you move your hole this way, the nut will foul the case, where the case comes up here. So you want to file that way, so file towards the back of the case. Can, has that made it big enough to go through? Yeah. So now you have to put this in now from underneath. And this too can be a bit tricky. And there's no easy way to do it because the tiny little coax cable is attached to this. Anyway, but you just have to kind of maneuver it into place until it pokes through there like that. So you've got that through there. Now so the next thing you do is you find some bits in here, in this little bag. Basically a split washer, a grabbing washer, a split washer, and a hexagonal little nut thing that you screw down and clamp it all together. And I just have to tighten this up off camera, or in my hand off camera, to do it. Talk amongst yourselves a second while I tighten this up. Normal surface will be resumed in a moment. Right, so there it is. Now all tightened up, so you got to stuff the bit of cable in there as best you can. And then you can pop a front on, which just clips on. And this has got two little buttons built into the front that have to engage with little switches there. But the theory is it just clips together. Like that. So there's your front on. There's a back as well. I'm not putting the battery in yet, 'cause like I say, the battery case hasn't arrived. But on the back of the board, inside there, there is a little connector to connect two wires that come with your board thing, that you can then connect to the battery. So there's the little connector that goes onto the board in the back of there, and then the other two ends of that wire you wire up to a battery. So that's that. I'm not putting the battery in for now. And I've put that on upside down. Yeah, I tell you, it was going to be one of those days all the way along today. There we go. So there is your case with a LoRa device in it. Now, the little LoRa devices themselves come with this antenna that I could have put on, rather than the IPEX to SMA connector. I could have just put this antenna straight on. These antennas, by all accounts, are rubbish. Don't use them. So that's what they say about those antennas. Just put the bits back in the case here. Yeah, they say don't use those antennas, they're hopeless. The antennas are not really tuned for what we're going to be broadcasting on. And I'll prove that they're not tuned for what we're going to be broadcasting on in a minute. So there, we've done it. There's our little board. Now there's another one up here that is currently working. I don't know if I can grab it because it's not on a very long wire. If I can move you around there, you see. Here's one that is theoretically switched on, and you see that little display is on that one, and you see that's got a big antenna on it. Yeah. Now that big antenna is it Paradol? That antenna. Not very good with names, companies and that. I think it's Paradol. Who made the antenna, and I've got a couple more on order from them. So I'm not going to complete this box until my other two antennas arrive, and then I will screw one of those on. I did buy these cost about £10–11 off eBay. I did buy these antennas, you got about 5 for £10–11. And the idea is you screw one of them on there like that, and that'll make a nice neat little thing, wouldn't it? but these antennas are pants, and I can prove those antennas are pants by using this device. This is a thing called a nano VNA, and we'll have a little look at that next. But before we get there, we'll just go over to the chat, which I've been neglecting a bit while I've been doing all that. Right, we're going to change the subject just slightly while I'm catching up on the chat. The London Overground line, apparently, are going to be called the Suffragette line and the Windrush line, amongst others. Keith says he thinks it's a good idea. The Suffragette line. Yeah, you probably do suffer. The suffer part of it is probably quite right. You have to ride on that railway. The Suffragette line. What's a railway got to do with the suffragette movement? What's a railway really got to do with Windrush? I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not really sure about that. Why don't they do like the Underground? Because the Underground's all got names, and people still just call them the blue line, the pink line, the red line, the black line, the silver line. Don't know why they can't just do that. Wesley says perhaps they could call one of the London Overground lines the downtrodden silent majority line. Yes, I don't think that'll happen. Dominic says, yeah, it's cost £6 million of Londoners' hard-earned cash. Crikey. It cost £6 million just to name a couple of railway lines. I'd have called them Boris and Fred or something like that. There you go, done it. I've named you some railway lines. That's not, and it's not cost £6 million for me to do it either. Yeah, it's just phenomenal the amount of money. Is that right? It's cost £6 million. Wesley says he thinks it'll be more than just the Londoners footing the bill. Yeah, Dominic has got very good eyesight. He says, "Is that a Titan phone, Andy?" Yes, this is a Unihertz Titan, Dominic. In this red case, yes, it is. It's mega heavy, but they are quite good. There's only one slight drawback with them, and that's that they've got a square screen, these particular ones, and some apps don't work on them because some of the buttons are off the bottom of the screen. If the app hasn't been very well designed to sort of resize itself to different screens, then you do sometimes come unstuck because of the screen. Green flag breakdown, I'm looking at you as being somebody who has an app that doesn't resize properly. But other than that, it's a very, very good phone. Forget all your Samsung iPhone nonsense. Unihertz Titan is the way to go, honestly. I always had Blackberries, and now you can't get Blackberries anymore. That's the next best thing. It was actually a Kickstarter project, the Titan, originally, although I wasn't part of the Kickstarter project. I didn't find out about it in time, so I've come kind of late to the party with it. Gambo says, I've sent you an email with pictures of that phone. I will try to put it on the forum, which I still haven't had a chance to look at yet. Okie dokie, Gambo. Dominic says, I almost forgot, the same people behind the pulse to tone converters have started selling a little converter kit to convert a Bell Z26 to a Bell Z25, which may be of interest to you for your candlesticks, Andy. Yes, if it's what I've seen on eBay, I've seen that kit, I've seen a picture of that kit, and I thought those components look familiar. And I reckon what they've done is they've desoldered a induction coil off of a 746 circuit board, and that's what they're using in that kit to turn a Bell Z26 into a Bell Z25. Because what you're missing basically is the induction coil. Now I thought those induction coils will be of different values, but maybe they're near enough, so I'm going to try. Because I think it's just an induction coil from a 746 that they're using in that, but if it's the ones that I've seen on eBay. So I am going to try that. It's a project, it's on my list of things to do, it's a when I get round to it sort of thing. Dominic says, I've still got my Titan Slim. The only downside is the camera is quite low resolution. Yes, the camera's not very good on this either. I don't necessarily think it's the camera that's not very good. I think it's the software to run the camera that's not very good. But Dominic says he just uses old film cameras anyway, so he doesn't bother with the phone camera, which is why he's bought 100 feet of cinefilm. So yes, all good fun, isn't it? Right, so what were we doing? We were going to look, I'll get it the right way up, of this, weren't we? The Nano VNA. Right, see, I've got so much stuff on the desk, I can't actually push things under the blooming camera. Right, the Nano VNA. Right, this is the thing for, well, it can do all sorts of things, but one of the things it can do is test antenna for radios and things. And all you do when you can get it out of the box, oh, I'm having one of them days today. Hang on, where are we? There we are. So this is the Nano VNA, and all you do, you have to calibrate this every time you use it. Basically, I have calibrated it already. You just turn it on, little switch on the top there, and I've already set these up. At the top of here you will see a yellow line. Alright, if you plug in a decent antenna into this, that yellow line drops down the side of there. Right, I'm just doing it for you a sec. I'm just setting this up. Scale. Show the scale. Right. So, if you now have a look at this, you see down the side there in yellow are numbers. Right. Vertically down the side in yellow are numbers. In the middle, about halfway up, is number 2. That yellow line, when I plug an antenna in, that yellow line is frequencies. basically. So as I move this thing to move that little marker, that is like tuning a radio, going up and down the frequencies on a radio. So I want to set that to around about 868. Right, that's about 868 there, where that marker is there in the middle, because this is measuring from I think about 850 to about 890, something like that. So there it is. Right, when you plug an antenna in, what you want to see on this is that yellow line. You want to see it drop where that marker is in the middle, that marker there. You want to see the yellow line well below the 2. Yeah? These were bought off eBay as antennas tuned to 868 megahertz. So when they're tuned, you should get a value below 2 at the frequency they're tuned to. Let's put this in. And see the little white numbers appeared here. That is the value we're actually getting. It should be below 2. It should be like 1.5 or something like that. And as you can see, it's so bad it's off the scale. And the scale goes up on here to what we're going up to, about 3, and the actual value, if I can not get the light in it, is about 24 something, I think. You can't really see it on the camera, but I will tell you that it's 26.4 ish, and if I recalibrate the scale, so it's in 6s, you can now see, right, scale now, instead of jumping 0.25 from 0 at the bottom, jumps by 6. So the scale we've got now, let me get on this camera. You see, now, I said it was about 25ish, didn't I? And there it is, it's on 25 now. So the entirety of the scale we had before is now like under that 7 there, because it was measuring up to about 3 before, and that's 7 now at the bottom marker. So you can see how much too high it is, because you can see that marker in the middle there, it's measuring about 25, and it should be under 2. So that tells you how bad those antennas are. And if you have a really bad antenna coupled to a device, or you have no antenna at all coupled to a device, you can damage the transmitter. So yeah, a nano VNA. They cost about 50 quid and they are very good, but they do take a bit of learning how to use them. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to use meshtastic today, because basically I'll be here forever, and I've only got one node set up, and really you need two set up, because there's not enough people using it yet to have any connections with anybody else, guaranteed, you know, because if other people are not in the area or they've turned their device off, or whatever, then you can't guarantee a connection to somebody else's. So you need two of your own, and as I've only set one up yet because I'm still waiting for that antenna to arrive, that second antenna, we'll have to do it another week when all the bits and pieces have got here. But I did want to just show you the little box here and how to assemble it and that, and also the nano VNA, which is a really valuable piece of kit to work out what antennas to use, and more importantly what antennas not to use, because that one is dodgy as dodgy. 3, 4. I'm hoping the pigtails are good, though. That's with them. Right, just looking for all the bits on the desk. So that is that. I'll put all that away for the time being. And I can put this away as well, because we've not got it ready for action just yet. I mean, these were the original boxes that I printed out to use, but they've not got enough room in them for a battery, at least not for an 18650 battery, which is a nice big battery. So we've got stuff to think about there. Work. Now, as I say about these nano VNAs, you do have to calibrate them. But I'd calibrated that one before we came on air. Plenty of YouTube videos about how to calibrate them and stuff. It's not rocket science, but you do just have to stop and think about it a bit. What is a bit rocket science is flashing the meshtastic software onto the little Heltec boards, because you have to do a software flash, and I've not managed to get it to work on a Linux computer yet, and all my computers here are Linux. Luckily, I had got an old laptop running Windows 7 that hadn't been turned on for years and years and years, and I managed to get that going enough to do it on there. So yeah, nano VNAs and meshtastic Heltec nodes and that, and hopefully it's all working. And then there's the meshtastic app on your phone as well, but we'll cover that another time. If you really want to know about it, like right now, there's plenty of YouTube videos about it. Look for a guy called Andy Kirby on YouTube. He does lots of stuff about, he's a radio ham and that, and he does lots of stuff about ham radio, and now he's doing loads of stuff about meshtastic as well. So look for Andy Kirby on YouTube. Right, so that is meshtastic and all the stuff for the nano VNA and that has arrived this week. There's my little pile of stuff that's come this week. Right, we'll put that. I'll leave it there. Put it to one side. The saga of the Hoover belts continues as well. I've now ordered some genuine Hoover belts, because I got these off eBay. These are for a Hoover 119, as Freddie Mercury used in the Queen video, you know, he's doing the hoovering. And I needed a new belt for mine, so I bought 2 belts, and they both broke within minutes of using them. But I think they were cheap pattern part belts. I've glued this one back together with super glue, and it actually seems to have held. The joint is there, and it actually seems to have held surprisingly well. I might try fitting that one back into the Hoover, just see if it does it or not. Right, where are we on the live thing? Dominic says, can that thing be used as a general oscilloscope? Not as far as I know, Dominic. It does various things, but it's not really an oscilloscope. It does way more than I'm using it for, but it's not just a general oscilloscope. Gambo says, talking about Dominic's cameras, I picked up an Olympus SP500UZ digital camera. Looks good, but need a small sized SD card for it, and cables to help charge the batteries, which are not supplied, and transfer pics to the computer via the cable. Yeah, Olympus SP500UZ. I don't know. I don't know much about cameras, to be honest with you. At least not stills cameras. It says, I bought the camera straight after last week's show. Oh, I inspired you to go out spending your money, did I, Gambo? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. If you'd told me you wanted a camera, I'd have put an affiliate link in the video. Dominic says it's a nice find. He says Olympus make good cameras. Yeah, they do. Not bad. Not bad. I don't know how good the digital cameras are. For digital stuff, television stuff and digital stuff and movie cameras, you know, digital movie cameras and that, I still think you can't really beat Sony. Yeah, they have very good kit, Sony. Very good kit. If you went to Television Centre a few years ago, you'd have found nearly everything in Television Centre was Sony. Yeah, really good stuff. Although I don't think they actually used Sony television cameras in the studios, or did they? But they tend to have different things at different times. I don't know if they moved on to Sony. Dominic says, your little demo really illustrates the difference that antennas make. Don't want to end up like Rod Hull, but my roof aerial could possibly do with adjusting for better FM reception. Yes. Yeah, it's probably not directional, the FM. I think they've turned FM down. I don't think the radio stations are broadcasting as strongly on FM as they once did, because I think they've just basically turned the power down to the transmitters, because I've noticed stations don't seem to be as clear and you don't seem to be able to listen to them for as long in the car. You used to be able to get in a car, put the radio on, drive somewhere, and the radio would stay on that station if you were in a reasonable local area. But now I'm finding you having to retune it about every 10 mile at least, because you're going out of range of that local station. You're having to go to another one. So I don't think they're broadcasting as hot an FM signal as they used to. I think they've turned it down. And Dominic agrees. He says reception of Radio 4 is quite patchy as of late. Yeah, you see, I think they're turning them down. I've noticed it with the commercial stations that have now become part of Greatest Hits Radio. What were local radio stations and now aren't anymore, really. But they've still got the local frequencies, and you seem to have to tune from one to another to another to another. I think between going from here in Bolsover to Rotherham, I think I had to retune my radio twice on the journey, and the journey is probably about 25 miles perhaps, something like that, 30 mile tops, and I had to retune the radio twice, gone 3 different stations. Yeah, they are definitely not pumping out as much power as they once did. But it must cost a phenomenal amount of money when you think about it. That, you know, the electric bill for a radio transmitter. When you think, when they say stuff like, it's a 1,000,000 watt AM transmitter. 1,000,000 watts? 1,000,000 watts? Well, think about what your electricity bill is when you're using 5 watt LED light bulbs and stuff, and they're using 1,000,000 watts. Just imagine what the electric bill must be. Yeah, Dominic says it's worrying because Radio 4 should cover almost anywhere. Well, yeah, it should, shouldn't it? But I wonder if they're trying to get you to switch to digital, and of course digital radio, DAB radio, and that is just hopeless. DAB radio in your car is horrendous, and the sound quality on DAB radio is bad as well. Techmo, another YouTuber I encourage you to look up. Some time ago he did a very interesting video about DAB radio, and he discovered that a lot of the radio stations that were on the DAB multiplexers were actually transmitting in mono. They weren't even in stereo, to save on bandwidth. Yeah, it's just not very good at all. Trust me though, PVR will be in glorious full stereo. Although it's not at the moment, but that's another story. Oh, there you go, Dominic just put it in the chat. Techmon did a good video on how DAB often uses the worst quality audio. yeah, that's the one, Dominic, yeah. Check him out, Techmon on YouTube. Right, I think that is probably going to be about as far as we go today. Sorry we haven't got on to the making a phone out of bits thing, but we are running rapidly out of time. I still have the chassis of the phone here, awaiting its parts. So basically we're going to put a spare. We're not going to use new parts. It's all going to be old stock parts, but we're going to put a case on it, a handset. Then we need the handset elements, transmitter and receiver to go inside it. We need a curly cord. We need a dial, of course, and all the dial mounting bracketry and that, and then we will need a line cord and need it all wiring up. So there's quite a few bits that we're going to need, but we're going to basically try and rebuild this phone on an episode coming up fairly soon, and I think we're going to build it into a red upside down 746. So we're going to build it into one of those 746s that sits on the wall like that, and I think we're going to make a red one, just because it's something as wildly different as it can be, because we don't know what this was originally. All we've got is the chassis, and there's no way of knowing you know, what colour it was or anything. So we're going to, it's a good excuse to use a bit of imagination, let us imagination run riot for a bit. So we will get on with that quite soon. And Dominic says, speaking of radio, sadly the late great Steve Wright passed away. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dominic, because I did want to say something about this. It's hard to say anything that's not been said already, but as many of you out there know, I dabble in radio. We are starting a radio station here, which is PVR at Paisley Vale, and I have done radio shows and indeed television shows in my past as well, and much of that is down to Steve Wright. When I was at school, I absolutely hated school in the 1980s, and I particularly hated PE lessons, but once a week, as part of our PE lesson, we used to get bundled onto a coach bound for Charlie Park Leisure Centre at Clay Cross, which was about a 20-minute to half-hour coach ride away from the school. And on that Rainworth travel coach, the driver would always have played on the coach Steve Wright in the afternoon when he was on Radio 1. So it was the year of Mr. Angry and the Daleks. It was that kind of era, and I just thought that show was fantastic. I really did think that show was superb. It was so much more lively and funny than anything else on the radio at all. It was absolutely groundbreaking, and I used to listen to that show a lot. Then it disappeared. Steve left Radio 1, the show disappeared. It all went quiet for a while. Then he came back on Radio 2, and I hadn't realised he'd come back for a good few years. And then one day I was just happened to be cycling through the radio, and went past Radio 2 and heard Steve, and I thought, that's Steve Wright in the afternoon. He's back on. And since then I've been an avid listener of Steve Wright, and I absolutely love it. Yes, his show slowed down a bit on Radio 2. It wasn't as fast and frenetic as it was on Radio 1, but it was still pretty good, and he was still the best around. I was basically knocked for six on Tuesday afternoon when I heard, like you guys and everybody else heard, that Steve had passed away on Monday. He had been on air only last Sunday with his Sunday Love Song show, which was a pre-recording, but I believe it was only pre-recorded 2 or 3 days in advance. I believe he used to record them on a Thursday, I'm not sure, but I think he used to record them on either a Thursday or a Friday for transmission the following Sunday. And I just cannot believe he's gone. And the really worrying thing about it is, as far as I'm aware, nobody else does what he did, and it's a great shame that there's nobody else at least trying to learn that skill. And when I was on TMCR with a radio show, which is a local station near Doncaster, I had a show that was blatantly called Andy in the Afternoon, and it was very much a hat tip to Righty. So I just wanted to add my little tribute to Steve, because I think I, like a lot of people who do stuff in broadcasting, owe a great deal of our interest to the passion for broadcasting that Steve gave us through his wonderful shows. And although I never met him, it is a very, very sad week, and he will be missed. He will really, really be missed. And I don't know why his show got cancelled in 2022. I don't know what happened. There were a lot of scheduled changes at Radio 2 at the time, and the people who have come on to Radio 2, Scott Mills in place of Steve Wright, and Vernon Kay in doing the morning show in place of, oh come on, what's his name, the guy that used to do the morning show, Ken Bruce. Vernon Kay in place of Ken Bruce, and Scott Mills in place of Steve Wright. Although both Vernon and Scott are very good presenters, they are very generic, and they are not as good as Steve Wright, and I don't think anybody will be, ever. So rest in peace, Righty. You deserve a break, mate, but not really like this. And we will miss you very much. And the radio community has lost one of its great broadcasters and great teachers. And with that, I think that really is about as far as we go for today. My thanks to everybody for watching and listening. But I will read just the last few comments and that are in the chat. Wesley says, I remember working away when I was at BT and was listening to Steve Wright in the afternoon on Radio 2. He had a guy on who was also an engineer, and he said he used to be one. I remember him saying those green cabinets were a nightmare. Did he? Was Steve Wright a telephone engineer? I didn't know that. And Dominic says it was terrible of the BBC to try and kick him off because they wanted younger presenters. It was. And well, I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of quite what happened. I don't know if the BBC actually kicked him off or if he wanted to leave. All I will say is, knowing what I know about Steve Wright, and as I say, I never met him, but knowing what I know about him, I can't imagine him ever wanting to leave. He was the sort of person who came in 4 hours before his show was due to start, when most people rock up about 20 minutes beforehand. But he'd be there 4 or 5 hours before, and he'd be there 2, 3, 4 hours after as well. You know, actually making that effortless radio, or what sounded like effortless radio, be as good as it could be, because to be honest, it really wasn't effortless. There was a lot of work went into that show. But whether he was kicked out or whether he left, I don't know. I wondered if he was ill, if he knew he was ill, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a horrible coincidence. But yeah, I've got nothing against Scott Mills. He does his best, the guy does, but it's just not as good a show as Steve's Wrights. And to be honest, I think it's a lot cheaper because he's not got a posse or anything. They don't have guests on with Scott Mills as much as they did with Steve Wright. I think it's a cheaper show that Scott Mills is making. I think that's probably why they did it. They wanted cheaper shows. Wesley says it's typical of the BBC pandering to try and shape things to appear like they're doing the right thing. Yes, yeah, it is typical of them. I have heard say that the BBC killed Steve Wright. That he died of a broken heart from not being able to do his show anymore. I don't know how true that is, but it could be. It certainly could be. Right. Anyway, that's it. I've caught up on the comments now. We will very much miss Righty, and yeah. When PVR starts, there will be some little Easter egg in there as a hat tip to Steve Wright. So when it starts properly, PVR, there will be some Steve Wright influence in there. I absolutely promise you, because my heroes are people like Righty, and Kenny Everett is another one. Folks like that. Yeah, when we get going with PVR, there will, well, who knows? There might be a bit of Mr. Angry showing up somewhere in there. Right, that is it for this week, folks. We will be back next week. I hope the new time didn't throw you too much. I think it's going to be about the same next week as well, about 7 PM again next week. But for me, for now, have a fantastic week ahead, whatever you are doing, and we will see you all again next time. Bye for now.